Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back here at Big O Bell Media for our final recap review show, at least for the first part of Power Book 2 Ghost. Where tonight we are going to be breaking episode 5 down. This episode is titled Ego Death. It is written by Lacey Herbert and directed by Baton Silva. So Lucas and I are very excited to get into this episode because y'all know how these finales are. But this is a little bit of a uncharted territory for us because this is 5 episodes for a finale, and we're not picking things back up until September. And with that being said, yeah, a lot to cover. So we're going to jump right into it. But I know how it is here at Big O Bell Media. We come bearing gifts. And the first two things I'm going to tell you is, number one, there is an interview available right now with the very talented Talia Robinson, who you know is Elle. It's a very extensive interview. I know we've been giving you like these quick 10, 15-minute interview. This was 30 minutes. So we break a lot down with her in terms of understanding the character Elle and Brayden's relationship, and so much more. So you definitely want to tune in for that. And I will honestly say that Talia is an amazing person and a phenomenal talent. And I think that she's somebody you want to keep on your radar. There's something about when these Broadway actors come into the world of power, what happens to their career beyond that. And I think you look at somebody like Patina Miller as Rock, and you understand exactly what I'm saying. So yeah, you definitely want to check out our interview that's available right now. And then the final announcement I will say is there's another interview that will be available next week. I decided to spread this one out a little bit just for the sake of content, because I'm not used to these 5 weeks of power, man. We're used to 10, 8 to 10. Yeah, I'm like, damn, we done till September. So I decided to spread this out just a little bit. And that being said, too, if you all got interest of anybody else you want us to talk to, give us a shout. We'll see if we can make something happen. But yeah, Ego Death, episode 5. This is 405, the finale of part 1. Lucas, are you ready for this one? Because I feel like we're going to have a wild time tonight.
Yeah, because clearly, I mean, as much stuff as we predicted was going to happen this goddamn episode, and all of it happened. Yeah. I mean, dirty cops in power. Who would have thunk it?
Did you talking about the dirty cop angle though? I mean, we knew it was going to be okay. I'll be honest. I just was like, they're not going to just do the dirty cop trope once again. This was a little different, but it's not unfamiliar because if you watch enough of these type of shows, you see this type of involvement. But this is the first time we've seen one like this in power, because typically the dirty cop is out to get the St. Patrick's by any means necessary. They don't care about who's the kingpin. They don't care about who's easily the most accessible target. They got to go after the kid. They got to go after the ghost. Those are the only two people they care about by any means. And I mean, that obsession has really carried a lot of the character dynamics for the whole Power universe. But Don Carter and crew, just a little different. I think we'll wait till we get to that big reveal later on in the episode. But as of right now, you all jump in the comments, jump in the chat, let us know your thoughts about tonight's episode. Follow along with us in the conversation below, and let us know your thoughts, reactions, comments, all that good stuff to the things we talk about. Let's get right to the beginning here. First and foremost, I was thinking about this when I was listening to the intro theme. And although we're getting to the end of Power Book 2 Ghost, obviously there's more power to come. This may be the last time, at least in a while, until we get to part 2. But then after part 2, that we hear this theme song. How would you rank this theme song in terms of all theme songs in all of television? I think this one is absolutely, without a doubt, better. But this one's definitely one of the most iconic, and I think it definitely ranks within most people's top 5. Where do you put it?
Not in the top 5. I've seen way too much television.
Okay.
Now, if we're talking about this genre of television show, that'd be different. I mean,
I'll be curious about any genre. I'll be curious about any genre, and not just the composed score, but like a legitimate theme song.
Oh, dude, see, damn it, you're gonna make me show my age. I mean, at least 3 times a week, out of the blue, like step by step, day by day, pops into my head. So that
Hey,
clearly is up there. That pops into my head randomly
you
out
get
of
that.
nowhere. And
You
I'll be
get
like,
that.
why the hell why is the step-by-step theme just popping into my head? Like, that's what I mean by things. But to me, you got to categorize it as this type of genre of show with this
Okay.
theme. Because remember when they tried to change it that last season of Ghost?
Hey,
How
not only
horribly
did
that went.
I think not only did that get canceled, so did Trey Songz. That's probably the
Yeah.
last time we heard of that
Yep.
guy.
Mhm. It was like, yeah, nah, you ain't gonna mess with our show, buddy. But like, compare this to like, you know how much I love Godfather Harlem's theme is
That's number one.
incredible.
That's
That theme
easily
is
number one.
incredible, Joe. Like that,
Yeah.
that's a different type of level. Here's the weird part. I believe BMF's theme is better. Like,
Okay.
I love BMF's theme song. Like, but Power's up there because it's so when you hear this Big Rich Town, the moment it kicks in, it's just something about that kick in
Yeah.
that makes it iconic. So yes, it's definitely one of the best because we don't get television themes anymore.
Yeah.
You may get a simple score,
Mhm.
or you know, my Step by Step is the one that pops into my head every day. But
Yeah. Quick
Law and
title
Order
drop
is number
for
one.
some.
I don't give a damn what you say. Law and Order will always be number one.
Yeah, I knew you were
Like,
gonna go there.
and people can speak. They speak at the beginning of it, and then you just know the moment them horns come in, that that's it. You got me hooked. I'm hooked at that point.
Oh, you are hilarious. All right. So we start this episode off, and y'all let us know y'all favorite themes of all time and where do you rank the Power theme, whether it's in this genre or just all over television. Let us know. We start this episode with Tariq on the ground, and I gotta tell you, this is beyond the most relatable intro of all the Power. He does.
This just reminded me of all my college years.
Blaming all the alcohol. Listen, my man wakes up from being blasted the night before at the underground club, and he is next to Anya. I think it was without a doubt beyond obvious that it was her. And then we get back to sort of him recanting the events of the night. And I like how they made this very blurry, very trippy. This was just things to come for this episode too, which is really should be noted that the cinematography in this episode was a little unpower-ish. I don't think we've seen things to this degree with the show. They
stretched it perfectly for this episode. Yeah.
Yep. But we see him and Anya going shot for shot, and it just got kind of wild. Braden was looking on. I tell you, Braden looking on is funny because we know Braden treats and respects Tariq like his brother, but Braden absolutely had googly eyes for Anya. One thing about Braden, he loved him a fine black woman.
Hey, he gonna get him a no matter what.
No matter what.
This Vanilla King gonna find him.
Yeah.
Let you know.
But yeah, we see from the drinks to Tariq getting her back to the room. They make it happen. He smashed that joint. And then we get to the current time where he's like, he wakes up and he's like, "You leaving already?" Now listen, I'm telling you right now. I'm telling you because I'm gonna keep it 100. I know there's this idea of labeling this as some measure of desperation or whip. I'm telling you right now, everybody, you had to have college nights like this. You get so fried the next morning, you like, where the hell am I? What's happening? And things are moving too fast. And the fact that there's another individual that is getting dressed and doing whatever, you're like, well, how do you have that type of energy right now? Because I am hurt.
So when that's when you get you leaving already, because like, oh,
exactly.
Damn, how are you even managing? How's your body functioning at this point?
Bro, that was like, I was like, I know exactly where that's coming from. But anyway, Anya keeps it. I think Anya has this thrill of the hunt because she's just like, you know what? Let's not make this into anything that is not. He wanted her number. She's like, nah, but it's funny because soon as he mentioned like, well, what's up with the next party? We're going to have another one. You want to come through? Then the number exchange goes down.
You
so like
spot him a mile away. I'm telling you.
It's a
like her mama. Just like her mama.
Yes, it is. Thank you. I was just about to toss that to you. But yes, the thrill of the hunt, and I also think there's a measure of control.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because I think that I think this is going to be a little bit more telling than I think it's initially leading on to. I know we like comparisons here, so y'all want to say Tariq has Diana, and then now he gets Anya, so you want to say, oh, well, that's
No,
Tasha.
that is not Tasha and Angela under no circumstances.
But
Okay.
but this show loves this universe loves triangles. We've had the Effie and Diana for a while.
Effie ain't gone. Effie ain't gone. I hope y'all know that.
Yeah,
Effie ain't gone nowhere.
She's not. Yeah, she's not.
Yeah.
It sucks that there was so little of Effie for part one. Such an important character.
You know who I was extremely, and I know this is off track, who I was extremely upset I didn't get to see this episode?
Who?
Keisha Hill. Because I'm like, where is light-skinned Keisha Hill? Because
she's on stage
for her Miseducation album to drop at Stansfield. And the point that we go a whole episode and we get a concert and she's still not on stage performing.
She's on stage, I think. Really, I think for like a second, I can't remember.
Not enough. It's not enough time. It's not enough time. Like, she is the star at this point. If I can't get Raina, at least give me more light-skinned Keisha. That's all I ask. I don't ask for much.
Oh man. So now the next scene we get Brayden and Elle booed up in the bed, and she wakes up and we see her grabbing a prescription bottle. And I know there was a lot of thoughts instantly in you all's mind as soon as you saw that. I know what you were thinking. You was like, oh, could it be some measure of an opioid here? Adderall of sorts. It makes sense. It checks out there considering what we've seen of her recently. But it's not. And I also think, like, in a very non-joking factor, understanding that Elle has sickle cell is sort of a attribute to a character that we haven't really seen featured often. And I also think that sickle cell is something that's so prominent in our community that it also isn't discussed a lot. So I like beyond appreciated this because not only was this like constructing the character in a way that we haven't seen, but it was an education to the masses, understanding what a crisis is, Brayden being not only just the white populace of ignorance, but probably some of you all too.
I'm being white. Like, white people don't know about sickle cell.
Yeah, right.
I did what the hell that is.
Hey, but listen, there's a lot of black people that have no clue as well, do you? Y'all remember being screened for it in elementary school, and that's the last time y'all heard about it. But the fact that like they broke it down.
Yeah, exactly. Well, black folks know about it now because Supercell on Netflix is a hot show, and it's black people with sickle cell who got superpowers. See, like that has gotten all black people's attention. Okay,
and that's exactly the problem right there, because that is probably what their degree of what it is, and they completely just went over the idea that like there was a measure of experimental testing and folks end up having superpowers, and now they're just stuck on the superpower aspect. But Elle brings it back to the street level to understand it, like people that have this,
what it is.
The pain management in their day to day, and I think it was like very excellently described and articulated to everybody to understand, to the point that you seem to sympathize for the reason of her drug use. And I know some of you all may say that doesn't sound like a treatment to me. I will go as far as saying I will go as far as saying, and I think the interview can be a little bit of a cheat for me here. I think it also it explains to you like the crisis in big pharma, like the fact that people can't get the proper treatment they need for properly pain managing and or their day-to-days in terms of just being normal people. A lot of people, and this is just one of the cases. I mean, people who are diabetic can't afford their insulin. People who have sickle cell may not be able to have the right treatment they need, the right medication for them to withstand their day-to-days. And I think like in a way, and it's clearly not a means of promoting drug use here, but at the end of the day, like you kind of see like this is how she's managing. She says, every day I'm walking, it feels like there's this glass in my body. And I started thinking about that, like, shit, a lot of us don't even want to feel the feel of glass on our skin. Imagine it being inside of it. So I appreciate that perspective, but I also think the really important thing between the two is that there's a measure of transparency. Braden opening up to her, Elle opening up to him, and I think we can now start to kind of consider this to be somewhat of a legitimate relationship. What did you think of this? I know I had a lot of thoughts there, but what did you think overall of this?
It was good to introduce a sickle cell trait into this because it helps explain her drug use. Granted, not her infatuation with drugs, because those are two completely different things here. But it explains her drug usage. Because unfortunately, if you do know people with sickle cell, at times, some people are just looking to be numbed, and that's what it comes across with her is she's looking to be numbed. So that's why she does so much coke. Granted, she's doing a lot of coke, but I mean, we're not going to act like cocaine isn't also used as a pain reliever.
Yeah.
So that's exactly
what mention Adderall.
It's literally cheaper though to get it in powder form than it is in a pill from a doctor's office. So that's possibly why she does it. And it's just an interesting thing because it adds a dynamic to their relationship that Braden wouldn't know anything about. Yeah. Again, we joked about it, but not too many people that aren't Black people really understand sickle cell and the effects it has on our community and it has on people. Like you have to, and a lot of Black people don't know until you meet someone with sickle cell, and or you have family members with it, and you see what the pain management portions of it is, and how terrible it can be at times for people who just want to feel normal again. And that's what it is with Elle. Is this is her escape from everything, and that's what she uses the cocaine for, is to escape from everything. Now that does not mean this relationship is healthy at all for Braden, because boy, you can't get with an addict who's using anything to escape from a drug, and then they get you to use it. Because Braden don't need to escape. All thing he's escaping from is the loss of white privilege. Like that is the only thing he's escaping of, is the loss of his white privilege. And that unto itself, you got to be very careful. And I'm not being racist, what I'm about to say. You got to be very careful with people like Braden using drugs, because we see so many of our white brethren that when they get hooked on drugs, they don't know how to stop. Like it goes horrible levels. And I think that is the dynamic they're trying to play here with Braden, is that he's numbing himself because everything with his family. But if you're not dealing with that and you're just using drugs, you can't compare his situation to Elle's situation. That is a physical pain that she's attempting to escape. He's trying to escape something more mental. Yeah. And you can deal with your mental issues as long as you reach out for help. But he doesn't know how to do that. So the dynamic of their relationship, please don't compare. Granted, she is still white, Black Holly, but I don't think it's anything remotely close to a relationship that we've seen on Power before. And that's what makes this interesting.
Well said. The only thing I will say, one, to the Black people of the world, a lot of people didn't even know what alopecia was too until a certain particular,
which makes absolutely no sense, because every man who goes bald, it is because of alopecia.
But I mean,
that's just go bald for no reason.
But I'm just saying, like that's just like the level of ignorance to it. So like I do appreciate the intentional writing here, and I also like that Elle doesn't want to be like that token person with sickle cell in terms of her career, where she wants to focus to really just be about her music, and that's why she wants to keep everything on the low with Braden. She says, like, that's fine that we talk about this, but don't make this a thing for folks. I don't want people acting weird towards me or acting different because it is. So I do appreciate the conversation. I think it is going to be interesting. The other thing I will say to the point of Braden's use is I 1,000% agree. I was going to bring it up later on in the episode, but I also think what else is really dangerous right now is Braden's life is falling apart, as he mentions in the club scene later on. I think his relationship with Tariq is always going to be what it is. They're brothers, so they're going to have their ups and downs. But I think what's really dangerous is that Elle has been that very consistent thing in his life right now, obviously introducing him into a vice, and he feels comfortable with doing it around her. And I fear what happens when that consistent thing is no longer available. What happens when she prioritizes her music? What happens when, it could be anything, her health could take a decline. Or she could just be like, this doesn't serve me anymore. You're not giving me that off the top anymore. You know, because you remember last episode, she asked for a little bit off the top. That's not there. Does she still like him the same way? Because there's a mild benefit to this relationship. And if that benefit's not there, then, and I ain't trying to say she's a typical girl, but you got to think about this now. This is college and everybody's a measure. Everybody has a little bit of opportunist in them. And if that's not there, does she find the next? Does she move on? You know,
what happened if it goes the other route? And that's Brayton falling in love with the drug more than the girl.
Whoa.
Like that could be a complete like again, that's how you create addicts.
I hate it for.
That's how you create addicts. Also, real quick, I wonder if they are modeling L off of T-Boss. Because that would be interesting. Well, I mean, most people forget that T-Boz has sickle cell, and that's part of the reason why at times TLC went on big breaks because of the pain and her.
Oh my god, I forgot all about that.
Like, that would be interesting if they said, "Well, you know, this is something we don't talk about much." Again, besides Netflix giving us superpowers, we don't talk about sickle cell. That's interesting here.
Hey, listen, let me tell you right now, the measure of ignorance I dove into by looking in Twitter and specifically Black Twitter department, that while the show is called Supercell, I think people have decided that sickle cell would not even be mentioned, and that the fact that Supercell is the prognosis of these folks that ultimately gave them superpowers. So I'm just going to tell you right now, the ignorance is very loud.
No one's paying attention to the actual show. They are paying attention and saying sickle cell gives them superpowers. That's it. That's all we care about. That's all they care about, Joe.
There's some crazy narratives going on out there. Anyway, so Diana calling Salim, who isn't answering the phone. So obviously there's a metro concern there. Monet has everybody at the home. She's made some breakfast, and while Diana's there, Monet is there, Drew is there, Kane comes in and he says he don't have shit to say to nobody, and Monet is calling for a family meeting, but Kane is on some new shit now because he said, listen, I let these motherfuckers live out of respect for you. Now I do everything on my own terms. He said, I'm not about to be eating French toast with somebody that tried to kill you. I honestly got to respect everything Kane is saying here because it is kind of silly. It is kind of silly.
Wait a minute. No. Wait a minute. Go ahead.
I'll finish. He says, I could forgive them, but I won't. And then this is classic Woody. I know Woody began his chops in on the low here. He says, listen, also congratulations to your baby. If you had that baby, it would be the worst decision you ever make in your life. Why he repeatedly calls her Diana. Just being hella annoying. But listen, he proceeds by saying, like, playing house with the one motherfucker who fucked this family up, is wild. And Monet agrees, says he's right. If there's one thing he's right about the fact that we let outsiders fuck up this family. If it's Noma or Tariq, we can't have that. Then Drew decides to state that, like, listen, I hear you, Mom, but I'm doing my own thing outside this family. I'm blaming you, Mom, not the family. Going back to old times is not going to work, is what Diana told her. But they do agree that this baby could be a fresh start, a change for the family to do it the right way. And Monet says, I'm gonna do everything to get this family back on track for you, my baby, for your baby, my grandbaby. And Diana says, I don't know if you have that kind of power. So before I let you get in there, the reason why I agree with Kane is because it's on par for Kane. That's what I meant. I'm not talking about like I agree with. I personally agree with his stance. I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense for Kane to. That's what I should have said. It makes sense for Kane's stance to be in the way it is. This, I don't know what it is. I know I had my criticism about the writing pretty early, but this one's back on track for me. We are back on the right track of Kane, and the Kane we've known for all 4 seasons thus far. This is a perfect response for Kane. Exactly. For everything he had to say, exclamation point, Tariq. So, so we have Kane's stance here. We have Diana's stance here. We have Drew's stance. We have Monet just trying to put everything together by way of the business and the baby. What did you think of, which I think we have coined as the dinner table from hell, because anytime they're sitting there, you know some shit going down.
Look here, if they don't get Ayanla to come and sit at this fucking table with them at least one time to fix this shit, because accountability is a thing here. So first, let's understand this, and it literally goes to the conversation that Drew had with Kane. So you completely forget that Monet killed your father with no issue, issue at all, but because they attempted to kill her, you have the biggest problem with them.
And let me ask you something to throw in there real quick. So while you responding to that, why do you think he is so hands off? Like that factor into everything. Like he's just so dismissive about them killing or Monet killing his dad. Why has that never been a determining factor in terms of his logic? What is your thoughts about that? And then continue.
Once you're a mama's boy, you are always a mama's boy. And that's what Kane is. Kane's a mama's boy. So, and you get the difference between him and Drew. Drew is, for lack of a better term, like daddy's little girl. And I don't mean that because of the community thing, but I mean in the basis of his relationship with Lorenzo. He is so hurt that Monet killed his father. He can't see past that. As much as Kane is a polar opposite, where because they attempted to kill Monet, he cannot get past it. Like this, it's all about accountability though, because the one person who should be setting everyone straight isn't, and that's Monet. Like this is not as it comes a point in time where the figurehead of the family has to speak up. And while Kane is feeling himself, he's only doing it because it's in retaliation to the point that she's allowing them to him disrespect her. And her not taking accountability in front of Kane is the problem. Like to this day, we have not heard Monet say to any of them kids, "It's my fault that I killed your father."
Just once this episode. Oh, no, not to that. No, she's never admitted that. No.
Yeah, exactly. Not to that. They know what she did, but she has to take accountability for it. Or tell the whole story of what led to it, because that's another thing she has not told them. Sometimes people can have a better understanding of what the actions you took if they understand why. And that's the issue with Monet, is that it's secrets. Everything is around secrets. And as you pointed out last episode, for some odd reason, she thinks this baby can change everything. How the hell is that humanly possible? Like the baby would actually fracture the family more because it's Tariq's baby. How the hell you gonna have his uncle gonna come around and try to kill his daddy every time he see him? How is that going to work? And eventually, them grandmamas gonna be beefing because Tasha wants to kill Monet. The dynamic there don't work well. But again, accountability is a thing. The point that Monet is still prioritizing the business and thinking that's the reason why, or outsiders got into our family, that's the reason why we broke up. No, it's not. It's because you were lying to them, went behind their back, attempted to have a meal ticket out of your first son who they thought was your nephew, and your plan was him to take y'all out the game, but you didn't tell anybody else that. Again, accountability.
Yeah.
The family fractured because you lied to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what we get in the flashbacks about. And I can't wait till we get the second half of the season and we get more of those flashbacks, because maybe we'll get to the reason why Monet is the way she is, because we still don't know yet.
Yeah. On that note too, I feel like this was some measure of a studio decision to break the season up in the way it did, because the writing, the writing isn't built like two halves. Anybody who watch Bridgerton, I think that's a good example of how you do two parts. Because they're like both parts are complete stories. This one definitely is a cliffhanger for episode 6. And typically Power just goes throughout the entire season of just doing 10 consecutive episodes.
What
And
was
I
the
think
last season of Power that split? Was it the last season of the original series that split 6 and 6? One of either that or season 5. One of them split
yeah,
6 and 6.
and the only reason behind that is because that's when Stars was really getting behind the show in the sense of invested in it in a way, changing the direction of their slate of
Yeah.
television shows, because it was, remember, they were getting renewed like season by season. And
Yep.
then they finally got one season where they got like 2 in a row, and then obviously we got the
2-season renewal,
cancellation.
and then
Yeah. So I don't know. To me, the point I'm making is that, like, you know, this episode definitely wasn't like a I'm good until September 6th. This was definitely
No.
like, I'll see y'all back next week. And I think it had everything that you're saying very much dictates that. Like, there's definitely more to be told about this right now. Not
Yeah.
I'll see you later. It's I don't think any fan is saying they're satisfied after watching this episode, and that's how it should
Everyone's out
be.
there,
You
like,
know, you
breathing in
have
hell,
yeah
waiting for the next hit.
yeah.
Man.
Let me move on now. They're back on the dorm. They're playing PS5, and Tariq is raging. I think it's interesting to see his personality peak the way it is. But anyway, Braden said that we should be celebrating because the business is rocking. And he said, but I did see you leaving the party with that fire ass girl. And he said it was Anya. Then he proceeds to telling Braden Diana's pregnant and is mine. And then this should shut all of you up with you all conspiracy theories and think pieces and all that stuff about how many times he had sex, how did he have sex, Salim, this and that, etc. He said he only had sex with her one time, and he doesn't understand how it's possible. I done heard so many people try to tell me how many times they were doing it, how they were doing it. I mean, they might as well have just been recording the shit the way how they were so immersed into this.
We literally saw the one time they had sex.
I'm just confused that time with these folks, but let us say that, and y'all be right down our throats about, nah, do y'all watch it? Da, 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 da. So anyway, yes, one time unprotected, as we know later on in the episode,
which is
he doesn't understand
wild.
how it be like that. It do be like that. I mean, I don't have any experience with that, but I mean, like,
I do. That's what. Whoa, listen, shit. I didn't know the things existed for a period of my life, so I fully understand it. But it's wild because both of them were in relationships where they used protection and they got together and said, "Well, let's see what happens here."
Raw dog.
Later on in this episode, saying like, "I don't even know how that's possible." You want to say, Nick, let's explain the birds and the bees. Maybe that's what James didn't do to you. If you don't know how that's possible.
I'm raw dog Lou out here preaching.
Hey,
but
he retired years ago. 90s was wild.
But he stated that, like, he needs to have control over he said he doesn't have control over one thing in his life, and this is where we start to see Tariq really develop the idea of just needing to be on top of everything. But Braden said, leave Anya alone, speak to Diana, focus on building the business. Revenge could wait. It is interesting that revenge is still a hot bullet point for Tariq right now.
Yeah.
Just a little odd that he still has that desire to seek revenge and get blood. But we'll talk about it a little bit more later. So Anya and Noma, this is interesting too. I don't think we considered this per last episode, but Noma says, I was informed that you had avoided security again. And Anya was like, listen, I'm sure whoever wanted to hurt dad is still in Italy. A little baggie of coke drops out of her bag, and Noma wants to know what's up with it. And he said, I got it from an underground party at Stansfield. I didn't even use it. Diana and Tariq, they're talking. Tariq, Diana says, I'm still in shock. And then they started talk about Tariq trying to kill her the other night. And then the arguing about being a mom and stuff and everything. Like, just typical
surprise pregnancies, boy. It's so many discussions.
Yeah.
And that's why this is a real scene that you would expect to happen between these two that are going through the most turmoil humanly possible. And him wanting to kill Diana, Diana setting up his mother because of her relationship with her mother. And all of a sudden, now you're throwing a baby in the mix, and them now having to shift from absolute hatred to understanding I can't kill you. Under no circumstances can I do it.
Yep.
And how do you deal with that with one another? And the trust issues that come along with you just randomly telling any man that you're pregnant and he know you were sleeping with other people.
Yep.
Like all of these, and this is a real conversation. That I love this scene for that reason. Because if Tariq would have just accepted it, like, well, she's telling the truth, so it's my baby. I would have nah, there should be so many questions there. Especially because she was with Celine.
Mm-hmm.
Like it should be questions like, what the heck's going on here? Down to my man saying what I tell people all the time. When she said, every time I was with Celine, we use protection. And when my man say, so all of a sudden condoms are 100%, he's right. There's a bunch of you condom kids running around here right now. But then it also brings to the question, like, are we gonna, damn it, it's only 5 episodes left. Because if this is a whole season, this will be a whole storyline that has to play out of would you gotta test the paternity of it, and what happens if Salim is the father and Tariq killed him?
Yep. And I think even to that point, if they find that out, does Diana tell him? Absolutely not.
Absolutely not.
You know why?
Him.
Yeah, and she knows that, and she knows he did, and he hid the truth. So she's gonna hold that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, even to the point, because that's an interesting theory, because she did say, "I'm not trying to pin no baby on you, Tariq." But while there's a lot of blame game going on there, as you mentioned, her and Salim, Tariq also did say you were fucking to her, like you were fucking Salim all last semester, which I think puts perspective that like they also wasn't just the one thing, but they were kind of at it very rapidly. So like, you listen, y'all have all the proof in the world now about the whole sexual, who was penetrating Diana, and y'all ain't got to like go on the internet and try to build your own whatever. All the information's here. Celine multiple times, Tariq once, the baby's Tariq as of right now. They're doing visits. Just let it be. Let this one play out here. God, I know who y'all might want to be. I think some of y'all want to be Diana's baby daddy, and that's not gonna happen.
No, ain't no of a surprise is laying around that Diana slept with at this point.
Yeah,
I'm just more interested in like this whole dynamic is very. It makes no sense for 5 episodes of how you gonna play this out properly.
Yeah, and she says, "Listen, like I need anybody that's gonna be in the baby's life to be clean. I lost Lorenzo, I lost Zeke to the game, so that's what it's gonna be. I'll let you know what I decide as Diana walks off." So the task force crew here now. So they are kind of sitting around trying to put together some thoughts, some ideas. And first thing comes up is Monet, how it's been very impressive that she's been under the radar with no charges and 0 arrests. For a minute, I was like, have we seen her arrested? But nah.
She had the dirty cop on her payroll for the longest time.
That's right. And then we hear Kamal talk about don't sleep on Tariq, because of course you gotta bring up Tariq. But I think there's a lot that's kind of happening in this room at one time here. I think them shifting the focus on Monet and establishing that Monet is the boss. I also think that understanding that there is a bit of ego in this room, because Don Carter and his stooges Nico and Felicia, they're like, you only got this job, Kamal, because of your brother Tate, and they definitely were kind of being really shady to him, and in terms of even establishing why his relationship and why he wasn't able to effectively get information out of Tariq. But anyway, they all agreed that pitting them against each other is working, and Monet is the boss. So maybe they're going to come off of Tariq a little bit, but I don't know. We'll see. We do get Effie in this episode. Very, 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 very small scene with her.
Yeah.
And Noma wants to know, like, hey, my daughter got these drugs. Isn't that your territory? Who is it? Find out who it is. And Effie says it's not me. And then Noma says, I'll handle it personally. I was trying to figure out why Effie was so short on words.
Because she knows it's Tariq.
Did she?
She knows it's Tariq. Like she put two. Effie is very. She put two and two together real quick. Who it was, and that's why Noma said, "Oh, I'll handle it myself," because Noma picked up on. Oh, you think it's Tariq too? Okay, I need to handle this. So that's why Effie was so short on words, because she immediately knew the only one other person that would do this.
Yeah.
Or two, I should say, and that's Tariq and Braden.
So Davis now, we see Davis out here slowly but surely losing his entire business, missing payroll, so employees leaving. And we see Braden and Tariq show up, bringing him his cut. He's happy about that. We see Drew looking at art, and this lady who owns the art gallery criticizes what does it mean to be an artist. Either you're an artist or you're not. Drew shows her his work and says, you know, we have this little artist showcase and I'll consider putting your work up. So we just see Drew trying to pursue his first love.
The duality of that too.
Talk to
me. It's a conversation that's happened in season 1 with Drew. Either you're in the game or you're out or you're not. You can't be in both. And he had to give up the one thing he loved the most to actually say, I'm gonna be in the game. And now all of a sudden you got this woman telling him the exact same thing. So it's equating art to the streets, saying you can't do either one of these halfway. That's the whole crux of this episode with the biggest players is ain't no more halfway doing anything.
Yeah.
You gotta be fully into it, because if you're not fully into it, the consequences can be dire. So I love that conversation between them two, because it immediately brought back, like, this is the second time Drew's had this conversation with somebody about a path in his life and him letting them know you can't be 50-50.
Yep. All right, so Braden is back at the Underground Fight Club to meet Zion for the re-up. So dropping off the money, and Zion makes his comment about Ghost's son. He says he's a little bit more than his father. He has a little bit more of his father in him than I thought. And Braden says, you know, you can always trust that we're going to come through. But Zion has some questions now because he wants to know who is supplying the Russians, who is everybody's biggest threat. And he says, no hiding stuff. If we're going to do this, we need trust. This is obviously Zion flexing his muscle and authority here. And Braden gives up Noma. And Zion gives him this very weird, awkwardly bear hug. It says, I believe you. Gives him a re-up and calls him Tiny and Tommy. Me neither. I just do they do that on Supercell?
That I think somebody did hug on Supercell. But they got superpowers because of sickle cell there. So it's a little different than power.
Let's see how many more times we can reference Supercell tonight.
Hey, I'm gonna reference it as many times as humanly possible. As much as I enjoyed that show, I said, "Oh shit!" I just don't want kids to see it and get the wrong message. Yeah, because it's gonna be a kid that's gonna say, "I got sickle cell, Mom. When I get my powers?" Like, baby, that ain't how this works at all. They are really irresponsible for telling this story to you.
Hey. So we get back to the underground party. Tariq and Anya is texting, but Noma shows up with her security, and she instantly goes to Tariq and says, "You thought I wouldn't find out? Kane's there too." Talk about Tariq violating their agreement. Kane also very much seeing through Tariq, seeing that he's lying. So I always can tell when this nigga's lying, and this is a very funny moment between the three of these characters, because Tariq decides to shift things over to Anya, and this is where it adds this measure of transparency to her. Find out that Tariq knows Noma knows and the whole thing. Everybody knows who everybody is, essentially, but Anya still doesn't know anything about Noma's business. So he says, listen, I gotta put a cap on the age here. And he says, I'll be seeing you soon. She says, I'm sorry, Kane said, I'll be seeing you soon. Yes, and Tariq says, yes, you will. But Noma leaves with Anya. And before that, Noma and Kane has a quick moment where he says, like, I can't wait to see his body turn cold. And he just said, just say the word. But because of Anya says, I can't let Anya know my business. I have to choose my next move very carefully. besides Noma just being Anya's mom, is there something else beyond the reasoning here why she has made it very clear that she doesn't want Anya to know her business? What do you think she's risking exposure
I
to?
think it's just her keeping her into the dark.
Okay.
And I think it was the same with her father before he was killed. Well, Anya
Yeah.
didn't know anything he was into either. It's the power parent thing again. You know, the quote unquote good parents from Power like to hide their dirty lives from their kids. It always backfires on you because your kids are gonna find out eventually what you do, and then they're gonna use that against you. But here is just that I think it's a level of protection for Noma or security that Anya doesn't know her business.
Yeah.
Because again, too many people involved in your business, you know, it's too many threats all of a sudden out there.
Yeah.
You don't need that to happen because clearly Anya has already no issue slipping security. So you don't need to add a different layer to that that's going to cause a bigger problem.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely agree. So Tariq goes back into the party looking for Brayden, directed that Brayden's backstage. Tariq sees Brayden hitting the line, and this is one of the most explosive scenes between the two brothers as Tariq goes the fuck off on Brayden because he says, "Are you fucking kidding me? Like, Kane and Noma just left." And he's blown up because of that, but also because Brayden's hitting the line. L looks on and says, "Don't stop for me. I already know everything. The floor is yours." I swear, like, I don't know if it's just because of the interview, but I'm just starting to like L so much because that's such a sarcastic but yet on par statement for her. Because she's so careless about everything, or carefree, should I say. And you talked to her at the red carpet, and you know, when she said she was free spirited, I mean, it's absolutely on par for all of her actions right now. But Tariq rebuttal is the funniest. He says, "Bro, what the fuck is she talking about?" And Brayden lies, says, "Oh, she just figured out everything on her own." Terrible liar here. But you know, he says, "Listen, you're losing your mind. This shit really got you bugging out. As soon as she breaks up with you, she's gonna run her mouth." He also should have finished by saying, "And as soon as she breaks up with you, you're gonna lose your mind. For real, for real." But that's no here nor there. We know that's coming.
Exactly.
But he says, and she says, "What do you think I'm a snitch?" He says, "No, I think you're an addict." She definitely took that "do you think I'm a snitch" thing very personal, but you know, we'll see. And
didn't care about being called an addict though.
Not at all.
Right over her head. I'm cool. I can do all the drugs in the world. I'm not a snitch though.
It says, "Look what she got you doing. Time and time again, you prove that you're not built for this. I'm sick and tired of hearing that," is what Brayden says. "Do you think about anyone else besides yourself for once in your life?" He says, "I was out. I doubled back to save your life. I lost my family over this. My whole life is falling apart. I can't even talk to you about it. Maybe this is my outlet." And Tariq says, "I take it on the chin like I do every day." And he says, "I can't because I'm not you." Anything you want to add there?
Not at all, because this was just a whole coke binge of arguments here. I'm way more interested in what Anya did. I'm sorry, what L did to Tariq after this meeting.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's literally. I can't wait till we get to that.
But that was just again. We haven't seen. Brayden has been hiding his drug use from Tariq, and he is so comfortable around L that he does it in a place where anybody can walk up, and it just so happened to be Tariq.
Yeah. All right, so Drew and Monet at Monet's bar, and says to Drew, "I heard you looking for your place. Listen, family first don't mean shit anymore." Using Poppy saying after you done killed him. I mean, Drew's on point here with that one. And he says, "You had Tariq and Kane green light on us. You destroyed our family." And Drew tries to leave, and then Monet says, "You're right, Drew. You're right. I put the business first. I'm sorry." Drew come back. Drew came back and sat down, and basically was like, "I never heard you ever be like that before and say you're sorry." She said, "I want to bring the family back together. In order to do so, we need to bring the business back. The business will serve the family, not the other way around." And asks Drew, it tells Drew we need product. So Drew gets to thinking, because I think he's contemplating what's being proposed here.
Yeah.
And he says, like, I know where we could get some from, but I'm one and done. So he can essentially work on his art. I don't want shit to do with this business no more, but I am in on bringing the family back together. And he says, if we're going to do this, we're going to need some soldiers. Drew recruited 2 people. All right. Anyway, Elle and Braden. So Braden's in the room tripping because Tariq's not answering his calls. And Elle says he will come around, and from that though, oh boy. So Braden first apologized to Elle for what he says, and Elle says, sounds like he needs to take a look in the mirror. Not little does she know, she's absolutely about to get him to take the biggest trip of accountability ever. And for sure. And that's what Braden said for sure. And then Elle said, I knew you was going to agree. And that's and he asked, what is that supposed to mean? He said, listen, he doesn't have outlets, like he said, and I figured I would help him with that. Put a couple of drops of acid in his water earlier. And Braden very, very much responds in the way I think I would have responded, like, that dude don't do anything, and this is what you did. He barely smokes. This could really fuck with him.
Don't drink. We seen him when he was drunk. You put him on an acid trip.
And did he say, when did you do this? I did it earlier in the candy store, and he said this is not okay. I really want to quickly say before we get to the next part that joins with this is that honestly, this is my biggest fear, and also I think this is like what we kind of see more often than not. If you've ever known anybody who's ever had bad drugs, it just feels like the same process here.
Yeah,
where it's just like they were all good until that one event, and I was super scared. I literally thought they were going to do that to Tariq. I was like, oh, they about to have my man like tripping after this, like permanently. But it's definitely Elle was definitely wild for that. But yeah, Tariq ran right over. Go ahead.
I said beyond wild for that.
Yeah,
that was crazy.
So Braden goes right over into the room, and Tariq is in there tripping. He says, bro, you okay? And he was like, bro, are you okay? And we see Tariq having all sorts of hallucinations and visions. You see a vision of his baby boy and Diana, his baby boy at 5 years old. And that instantly turns into him and to Kane appearing, trying to shoot him. Then that transforms into Tariq running the business. And then that transformed into Diana, hearing Diana voices, saying that you promised that you would get out, and then Diana shoots him. And then we see the scene that we briefly saw in the trailer, in all of the promotional work for this season, Tariq in truth. And this is the iconic moment where we saw Ghost's demise, where we see Tariq inheriting the Ghost character, only to be only for us to kind of be, how do I want to put this, only for a temporary time where we thought like who would be playing Tariq in this, and it ends up being Tariq on Tariq. And I think there's a lot to make with this. I'll let you go first. First of all, I just want to say before you do that is that this easily is one of the most important scenes in all of Power Book 2 Ghost, especially with the theme and then the announcement of Ghost, where he's like, well, what does that mean? Is Ghost coming back, or is Tariq going to be Ghost? And so on. I think this scene, this moment of everything that happened, because it was a little goofy and funny at first, till this becoming a very serious measure of consciousness for Tariq. And it goes back to the moment that he killed his dad. And I think that, was he ever contemplating that there was another outcome? Was this his consciousness reminding him that there was other options at hand? I think there's a lot to make with this. I super highly encourage everybody to comment your thoughts on this scene. Lucas, go for it.
Well, first, just the imagery that you get to see as we get into the mind of Tariq being part of this trip. And I know a lot of people in power groups, I know who y'all were expecting to come around that corner. And for a minute, it could almost make you think that was going to be Ghost that was going to come around that corner. But then what makes it so pivotal, because it is the same battle that we kind of talked about Drew having. But Tariq being the main focus of the show, it's very simple here. Can you do stuff halfway? Your father failed at this. What about you?
Yeah.
And it's going to be, are you going to become your father? Because that's been teased from the beginning. And that's what people have been waiting for. But maybe it's because it's not going to look the way you thought it was going to look.
Yeah.
And that's what I loved about this trip with him, because it was all about shredding certain parts of your ego and understanding who you are and then having to deal with it from there. Because that's the issue with Tariq right now. Tariq has fought his entire life to be something that he never was. And he always thought playing, stepping 1 foot in, 1 foot out would work. Yeah. It hasn't worked. It's literally brought him more tragedy from him being that way. So then what do you have if you ever get a Tariq that's fully focused on the business and nothing else? That's the best way to put it. Because that's why I absolutely love this scene. Because it was a perfect showing of him tripping.
Yeah.
And just the imagery is him going around and then him having that conversation with himself.
Mm-hmm.
Because it was at that point, it was a way for him to release his inner feeling of like, I got to hold on to be this kid that goes to Stansfield and do all this. We got to remember, in season 1, he only went to school because that was a way for him to get his money that no longer exists. What's the point then at now? What's the point that you continue going to school for?
Yeah.
Is it because you feel in a way like you need to be able to play both sides? But this is his subconscious telling him, until you pick a side, you're going to fail.
Yeah. Yep. I also think the hug is also sort of symbolic for him, him embracing like who he truly is and just to make peace with that. Yep. And we see like the shooter Tariq sort of in disbelief that like that's what it is. But I can't wait to see what other people think about that. Even all the ignorant think pieces.
They're going to be mad as hell. I thought Ghost was coming around that corner. That was a perfect scene for him to talk to his father. You already know how that's going to go.
Not part 1 finale. If Ghost is coming back, you better hold up to the end of September or early October.
They wanted a big explosive way to end out until we got to wait till September. They like, nah, bring them now.
Yeah.
But no, it made perfectly good sense with the tempo of this show.
Yeah,
that would be Tariq finally coming to an understanding after 4 years of who he is. Because that's been the thing. He's never fully understood it.
Yeah. All right. The church now, we see Diana lighting candles, which is interesting because these are the same candles I lit for her at the fan event.
Shit.
So this
you and about 10 other people. I can't remember who I put my candle down for.
Kane.
I think, I thought I put it down for Kane.
Yeah. But anyway, Diana is approached by this lady there. I don't know who that lady is. She could have been somebody, but I don't know.
Abuela? What's that what they call Mexican grandmama? I'm not being offensive. That's literally what they call it.
Like, yeah, I know what you mean. You're almost
felt
right.
Like that form of a relationship because
it was.
Yeah, that it fits. And I wonder, is that something where, sometimes people bring board to your life for a purpose and they're there to guide you into something and you just got to pick up on it.
Yeah.
And I thought it was fitting to pick Latino to play this role, considering that Lorenzo is Latino.
Well, she's Latino too, so just don't skip over
that. But that's her father's half.
Yeah. Abuela, just like from Force, Abuela. So yeah, and it is an interesting. It is interesting, but the only thing I want to add to that, because you already really covered this, is she said she was lighting a candle for her father, her brother, and her friend. So her father, Lorenzo, her brother, Zeke, her friend, Celine, which means she is aware that he's dead.
We already knew that, though.
Yeah, I mean, but like, so
she wanted Tariq to tell her the truth. That's what it was.
Yeah. I thought that was brilliant. But yeah, also like I thought again, I think there is a very much of a superpower with grandmas, Spanish grandmothers, and them being able to detect
if she'd have took off that slipper, already know. Look here. I grew up in a certain part of DC where everybody could beat you. I've gotten beaten by Spanish Latino women also. That damn slipper is the most irritating thing in the world to get hit with.
Yeah. But I mean, this was definitely a big pivotal point because her being able to understand that Diana is pregnant and not showing, definitely I think was a catalyst to her deciding to keep the baby.
Yeah.
But anyway, Drew and his new soldiers, all two of them, are talking about the shipment plan, how they're going to hit it, and being ready for the move the next night. So we see Noma and Wally Adams there talk about the contracts over dinner.
Yeah.
And Mr. Adams still has a bit of hesitation with her because of her citizenship status, and that definitely puts eyes on her bid. But then Noma is approached by this white woman and asks her that she has to move her I'm gonna tell you right now, this would never happen ever.
Shit.
Telling somebody they need to move their table.
Yes.
Listen, and if
the level of person it would take for it to happen now, that like it's a certain level of a person.
It would have to be somebody with a full detail, somebody of like some high security status. They're not gonna let no Joe Smo come in. It don't matter how much money now. Like, listen, these restaurants, and then on top of that too, you wouldn't just be in the mass public of a restaurant and being nasty. It'd be a lot different. You was in a private room and you were booked in the wrong room. They're just in the middle of the floor.
You got barbers kicking out niggas out their barber chair mid haircut for people to sit down. A certain restaurant that has a certain cachet, if a certain person walks in there and they say, I want that table. If you ain't giving me that table, I'm out. You know what they're gonna do? We're gonna have these people move. So you keep this table.
This sounds like an Atlanta special. They make up all types of they make up all types of rules out there. So but anyway, so they're being asked for their table to be moved, and I would have never guessed it was Zion comes to sit down, and he's speaking very metaphorically to her about territories and whatnot. And says you can enjoy my view of the city while you can, and make her move, and her and Wally moves. I am, again, you know why this doesn't make sense? Wally Adams has a political seat.
Yes.
Which, beyond my almost obsession with influence, ain't nobody of any political stature
Let me ask you
ever.
Let me ask you a question here. I'll be real here. Take the top senator you know. Pick them. Get them. Name a name.
Okay.
If Denzel Washington walked into a restaurant and wanted their table, who do you think is moving?
Denzel ain't Zion. Or you know what? I know what happened here. Zion used this supercell telepathy power and made it all.
But here's one part. It's weird that he said, I have a standing reservation at this table at all times. If you own a restaurant and someone is willing to pay for a table, even when they ain't there, I think in a way they would take precedence over anyone else. And especially because it's Noma's table. Because remember, they wouldn't talk to Noma. The white guy, he had no issue getting up. So clearly he is very unassuming in who he is. It's not like it was Stern. If it was Stern and that shit happened, you know, come on now.
That's
Stern is a motherfucking person.
Literally the point I was about to make.
Yeah. But Stern, because of the amount of wielding, Stern would make someone else get up, though.
Yeah. Because Stern's that guy with the power. Zion's not. So the thing about with Zion is that they haven't convinced me that he's a big time dealer.
They did everything in this episode to make it where he's not a big time, which is
definitely did. And for this one moment, like at this point now, the hierarchy is so confusing. You thought Noma was like a top person. She's not. And especially with her, and especially how Mecca was moving around. If she answered the Mecca, how could Noma not be the top person? But that's okay. Yeah. And then if you're like, all right, well, Zion's obviously the big dog. He knew Ghost, he knew Tommy. You know, he must have been connected on that level. Then Kane comes in and he's like, yeah, I had so much respect for your dad. And Kane is in there calling shots by merit of his dad. So it's like, Okay, well, I'm confused now. Like,
because we just literally had the cops say the Tejadas was a little operation. So wait, which one is it here?
who is the
How
top
did you?
person in New York right
Yeah,
now?
yeah. Who? Why is this name ringing it all in the streets? If they don't even, if the cops don't even see you as a threat,
Yeah,
which is worse because we now understand why Don said that, and that
yeah,
makes it even more weird that then Zion would bow down in that way to
yeah,
Kane.
yeah,
Because I would have thought like maybe he was that way, but things have changed, and I thought that would be the approach. It would be addressed with Kane, but it wasn't.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it was. I'm not gonna say weird, but it's a questionable decision that we all have to live with for the next couple of months while we wait for episode 6 to come out.
All right, so Kane and Noma now. Noma wants to know who Zion is. Kane labels him as a mid-level dealer from around the way. And David shows up. Noma mentions how he humiliated him in front of
Mhm,
Wally. Kane steps up against Davis and says, like, listen, Noma, trust me. No, me, you, no security, no Davis. We can handle this. So
mhm.
Kane decides to handle Zion.
Yeah,
Davis is going to handle Wally Adams on the legit front. Noma and Kane show up to the underground fight. And we understand that there's no rules in this place. They already mentioned it in
yeah.
previous episode, but no rules, no
Mhm,
straps. Zion's not even strapped. Zion, again, having respect for Lorenzo, the whole Tejada family. Kane says, I heard you've been violating. And basically, Kane says he could have just said, when you see her, you see me. Same respect you have for me, same respect you have for her. And Zion's taking the shots, talking about you got your new bitch, da 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 da. She steps us and says, I'll cut your tongue out. And then you know,
always putting themselves in place they don't deserve or need to
yep.
be.
Zion said, well, Noma's a top person. I mean, I thought so,
But I
but
mean, in
whatever.
this situation, because clearly she's with Kane for a reason here.
Yeah.
If she don't know Zion, and she thinks he's way more dangerous. Well, we all thought he was clearly. Now we have questions about it, but again, it's just what it was unnecessary, and he was doing it to egg her on to get her to react that way.
Yeah, that's a fact. But anyway, he says, like, I heard y'all was moving desperate after Lorenzo. Anyway, they decided to take it
Mhm.
out in the ring. She says, I thought he was a trained fighter. He said, what do you think I am? He says, I'm a fucking natural. Dougie Fresh is back here. And then they have a fight. No one's watching on. Kane is letting those things fly. Somebody hands Zion a pair of brass knuckles. Dougie Fresh catches it. Kane wins. He's officially announces the winner. And Noma tells him as they're leaving out, I'm very impressed. But it said we need to be prepared for the retaliation. And Kane says, but he knows now you're not to be fucked with. You don't need security. All you need is me. So only thing I really think is to think of this is that Zion's definitely going to have some measure of retaliation, but I also don't think it sat well with him because he lost. Him
Mhm.
having to use brass knuckles honestly tells me that like a lot of how they're building him up as like the top person and now
Man,
as the top fighter, all these things are lies. There's a lot
yes.
of fronting going on with this character, and I think that's
And
just
then
going to
if
be
you're gonna
exposed
use
more.
brass knuckles, didn't you learn anything from Roddy Piper or Jake the Snake? You put them in your pants, and then right after you punch somebody, you don't keep on walking around with the brass knuckles. You put it away.
Hey, Sir William Regal is the best reference point for how to properly use
You
brass
gotta
knuckles.
probably use
But you're
brass.
right, you gotta tuck them once you use them there. But anyway,
Exactly.
Braden and Tariq talking about the new way they need to move product. Braden admits that he had to tell Noma about Zion, or Zion about Noma.
Yeah.
And Tariq saying, listen, I'm about to be a father. I got to get control over every piece. That's the only way I'm gonna be able to protect my family. And he says, which in a very important statement, my dad did a lot of dumb shit I never agreed with, but I have a lot of him in me. And Braden says, much like we are saying, we've never heard him say that before, and he says he never wanted to admit it. But he says, I got to put all the pieces of him and me to use. And says, what do you want to do? And he says, revenge. I want a lot more. I want blood, B. I need to be the apex predator. I got to start by getting leverage. And he texts Anya. Anya's not available tonight. She says next weekend for a meeting. And because, she responds that she was busy currently. So Don Carter, we see him in his house looking for some lip gloss or lip balm, whatever you want to call it. And he appears to be talking to somebody. And that somebody is his deceased wife, as I would say, in a very nice way, that he's just trying to keep her spirit alive. So we'll let that be.
Clearly, he was speaking to her. All right, baby, I'll be back later. What?
Yeah.
I got to ask a question, and maybe the fans would know, because I was looking to see, and I still couldn't pick it up. They were zooming in way too close to the picture of his wife, for there had not been someone killed on the prior season of either Ghost or Power. And I kept on saying, I can't remember her. But clearly we know she was killed by a drug dealer. And I don't think it was Tariq. I think it was Ghost. And maybe we've seen this face before and I just couldn't put two and two together.
I'll admit I did not at all do some deep diving searching in it, because when he mentioned his wife's name prior, he didn't it wasn't a name that came up.
Not at
but
all.
I also think to his personality, I mean, we'll talk about it in we'll talk about it in 1 second to that. So that thought one quick second. So we see Tariq and Diana looking bomb here, by the way. She says, I had some time to think, I'm keeping it. And then Tariq says, I'm ready to do this, D. And she says, fine, I have the first ultrasound tomorrow. You want to come? And he says, yes. Noma and Davis now. Davis came to update her. He said, I smoothed everything over with Wally Davis. He thinks although he still thinks that you and Zion are connected, but I couldn't talk him out of that. He says, your bid for the contract isn't in jeopardy. She says, we're too close for setback, and they have cheers over wines. And he said, here's the possibility. And what do you know? It only took 5 episodes to get them to exercise that Stars contract there. And we get Noma and Davis hooking up.
Noma has created a three-way, a three triangle. So Noma has a triangle. It's like 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon in Power, because clearly, like, Noma's triangle goes into Effie, which goes into Effie's triangle, which goes into Tariq, which goes into Reek's triangle, which goes into Kevin Bacon. Like, it's amazing how shit connects to each other, Joe.
This shit is crazy. I will say that, though, Davis and Noma hooking up isn't nothing but a convenience. I don't think there's any emotions there. Obviously, Davis being recently divorced, he's hooking up with anything as possible. Davis has already hooked up with 4 women in this season in 5 episodes. And I also think we can also just reconfirm that everything with Kane is nothing but grooming. I don't think there's any feelings there, but Kane is completely hooked. So that's going to be a little bit problematic. And I know somehow, some way, Kane is going to make this make Tariq to blame for this.
There you go. Because who else? Who else? Why the first person Kane going to say? Yeah, got to be Tariq's fault. Noma, you wouldn't have slept with Davis if it wasn't for Tariq.
All right, we're getting down to the last 2 scenes now. Drew, Monet, and the 2 soldiers, while Don Carter's looking on, and the soldiers and everybody's looking at the drop, and we get a shootout happening here. And with this, the soldiers are shooting, and for whatever reason, Drew is out here looking like Max Payne, because he is just in the middle, not shooting at all, and just focused in, until we realize that the shooters aren't good shooters. And then Max Payne, or Max Tejada at this rate, locks in on focus mode
and just hey, this is a very interesting shot to use to show that Drew's just like peacefully murking anybody with 1 shot, Joe.
Yeah. And then Monet comes in blasting 2. Then NYPD shows up, and it gets crazy here because they hold them up. I was gonna at one point in my notes, it says they arrested them, but that is not at all what's happening. He holds them up and says, I'm not taking you to jail. And this is where we all get the whole thing. You all pretty much had assumed that Don Carter and the crew and his stooges, Nico and Felicia, are dirty cops.
I wish I could remember the comment last week when someone kept on saying, I don't know what it is about him. He's clearly dirty, and he's gonna turn on somebody next episode. Somebody put it in the comments, and I'm like, well, I can see him being dirty, but I don't think he's gonna turn that fast. Look what happened.
Yeah, let's figure out who that was. I think we need to give that person a little bit of love there. It's gonna probably take me a little. Oh yeah, let me find out who that is. Let's show that person some love real quick. There was a lot of comments, like somebody saying Don Carter is a dirty cop worker for Zion. That's close, but no cigar. Carter dirty. He's selling drugs too, because that didn't make sense to go after Reek and Monet, because why not talk to Roman and Zion if they're doing drugs? Yeah, I get that. I think you're looking at the wrong Uncle Lou pertaining to Carter.
I love when people try to correct me.
No. I think you need to listen to exactly what that comment is saying. I think you're looking at it wrong, Uncle Lou. I swear, yes. I read it the first time. I thought it says they're looking at the wrong Uncle Lou. I know. I get the comment reference to me. I will just let that slide. We'll do that. Anyway, let me wrap up this scene, then we can make our comments here. So it says you're not going to jail because the moment you get out, you'll just get back to doing what you do. So I'm giving you an opportunity to remain free if you follow my rules. You want to stop selling drugs. I mean, Drew says, do you want us to stop selling drugs? This is ideally, but no. Simple rules. Civilians should never be hurt. Criminals, kill them all you want. One drop of innocent blood, we kill you. You try, and then Drew says, you're trying to control all the drug dealers in the city. He says, try? Nah, son, we winning. My task force decides who operates in the city. You stay in line, you keep the innocents out of it, and you can continue. You go road, prison, or death. Don Carter and the Stooges are looking on because they're so happy. I knew something was up with that Felicia character. She was just so eager, and and absolutely a fan of the actor from her work on the show Heels, which was on Stars also as well too. So last little thing, Don Carter recognizes this dude Ice and says, you killed that 18-year-old kid on the subway. We was looking for you for months. I never forget her face. He didn't get to go home to his family. Why should you? He shoots and kills him. And he says, harm an innocent person and you're done. Work with me and you're good. I'm expecting my cut soon. 35%, I say. I got to pay my people. And says, you got what did he say?
He was setting up everything with Monet and Drew. Let them know I control you.
And that's when Drew was like, okay. And he said, like, listen, we got a smart one here, boss. He says, listen, he said, what happens if we turn you in? He said, we got a smart one in, boss. He said, people will believe him over any scum like you any day. And Monet is not having that. You're not talking to her baby. He says, shut up, bitch, to Felicia. He says, listen, take your shit and roll that you got today. This could be the start of something special. Okay. A lot to make with this. First comment is we see Don Carter kills Ice, and also just being upfront with Monet and Drew that his task force is dirty. So congratulations. Everybody got this right. To your point about his wife earlier.
Task force as usual.
Yeah,
always goes back to him.
Is that 1,000%? They're gonna be in Baltimore by tomorrow. The one thing that is also too, the task force does answer to somebody. So if they're operating under this measure of authority or their own measure of authority, there is somebody else that is to be. I know they said like Don Carter is like so well respected for everything he's done, but he still answers to somebody, and that's typically somebody of some political power or influence or whatever it may be.
Welcome to Khalil is still there.
We haven't seen Tate this season yet either.
All of a sudden, you only here because of your brother? It can't be the police force. He was a cop before his brother.
That's interesting. The comment earlier about his wife, and you said, could his
Yeah.
wife? So my thing is, he doesn't forget faces, and if it had anything to do with Ghost or Tommy, I think there would have been a question, more of a measure of a questioning about them, because he would have been way more determined to seek revenge for her than anybody else. So I don't know, but they sure as hell got 5 episodes to make that make sense. And I'll just leave it at that. What is your thoughts about the reveal of
Well,
the Dirty Gun Trace Task
can't wait.
Force New York Undercover Edition?
I want y'all to understand just how special. I'm not going to use that word I want to use, and the other word I can't use because the internet has told us that the word is now a bad word. He literally said, if you harm any innocent people, I'll kill you. No civilians. Nigga, who you think I'm selling drugs to? You know how many innocent people are going to get hurt because I'm selling drugs in their community? Why the hell? It made no, when he said it, I said, oh, is he only worrying about someone dying from possible, what we've never seen the Tejadas do is have at least grand scale issues of random civilians dying as they're moving their product. But instead, you're giving them free range to destroy any community they want to with drugs. And you said, I don't want any innocent people hurt. Humanly possible. That's literally the purpose of selling drugs. It's gonna be a lot of innocent people hurt. Like it,
Robin Hood from the hood, man.
When he said it because it didn't make sense for him. So I'm wondering, is this still part of a bigger play?
Yeah.
Like, is Monet is just part of it of him bringing Monet in and then them preaching this to Monet, but this isn't actually their plan.
Also, listen, let me make this very clear. Monet has survived the first part. I know a lot of you all thought she was going to die. I need y'all to revert back to Monet's type of person. It won't be long. And because they're both seasoned actors, Monet is only going to allow certain people within that star's contract sphere. And and I'm telling you right now, be prepared. It's coming. It is absolutely coming.
Mike don't do sex scenes, so that ain't happening.
Does he not?
He's married. He does not do sex scenes under no circumstance. So he's disrespectful to his wife, which I applaud him, black man. That's a great way to put it.
Okay, but either way, you can expect that trajectory. There'll be a crash course into.
I think that is completely granted, he is light skinned and Monet likes him light skinned, but she normally likes some of a different ethnicity. Like, you can have some black in you, but you like a Puerto Rican or Dominican or something like that. Is her.
Listen, they can make anybody whoever they want here. Let's take a look at Diana and Drew, both very much Jamaican in real life. So WWE do it, anybody can do it. So for family.
Did you say WWE do it? Anybody can do it? Yeah, because for years I wondered how the Dudley brothers, how that was a family and how Spike fit into that. I said, what the fuck? Wait a minute.
Yeah, it's out here. Yeah. Anything else you want to add to that scene so we get to the last scene and wrap it up?
No, I think that's it. It's an interesting concept that will be his concern. We understand what happened to his wife, and that is the main reason that being his concern. But that's almost saying, I don't mind you destroying everything around you, as long as you personally don't kill someone. But then it gets to the crux of what the real point of him doing it. It's the money. He has shit to do with that. I want to control drug dealers. He's taking 35%. He's taking more than Jason took from Ghost and Tommy.
I was about to bring that up. Nice and bold in my notes. Like, he's definitely eating off more than we've seen anybody make.
That's a huge chunk to take from someone.
All right, last scene. They're at the doctor's. We get the ultrasound. We were getting a first look at their baby. Very early, as it says, it is a baby. Heartbeat and so on. Doctor decides to give him a moment. Diana thinks it's a boy and says, yep, and I'm going to name him Lorenzo. Then, because of I guess if there was any awkward time, it would be Diana asking Tariq right now, have you heard from Salim? Says, don't lie. I know something happened to him. Tariq tells her to half the truth, everything, but obviously killing him. And then, he says, my dad was 1 foot in and 1 foot out. I'm not doing it like him. I need to be on top. That's how I protect y'all too. And says, that doesn't work for me. Bye, Tariq. And he looks at the baby monitor on the screen, and that's the end. And we ain't returning back till September 6th for part 2, which essentially is episode 6. The only thing I make from this is that they both come from households of lies. And I think right now we're taking Diana at face value, but Diana isn't exempt from being half honest as well too.
Oh no, she'll lie about other things, but just not being in the game.
That's right.
That's the thing she's not gonna lie about.
That's right. And I do think that this will be a step in a way we haven't seen Diana, who's obviously been a little bit of disarray in these first 5 episodes. But I think we come back to next season seeing a whole different type of Diana. Tariq got a lot to figure out too, because he just raw dog Anya. He has a baby coming. Effie's still there. He'll probably hook up with Noma next. So I don't know. It's wild. Oh, Noma for the streets. She's gonna do it.
We already knew that part.
Listen, let me tell you something about Noma we haven't talked about. You ever see that show 90 Day Fiance?
Yep. That's Noma. I mean, when her and Davis up here drinking teleport, so you already knew some shit was about to happen, Jeff.
She gonna do anything in her power to solidify her citizenship. You better keep an eye out for her.
If only she had somebody before who could have easily gotten that for
her. Didn't think that one out there. I still think that Obi's death was just so premature that,
man, it was. It set up these dynamics that I understand for storytelling purposes, but you could have pushed Obi to the side in a different way.
Yeah.
To bring him back, because that's going to be where we're going to see the biggest issues. That is, Kane's entered in another mommy-son relationship. He follows Noma around like a little horse, always looking to impress her, like a son would do a mother. No difference. But now he's into a struggle. He has competition in Davis for Noma's attention, and he doesn't know how to deal with that. That's not something he's equipped to have to do.
Yeah. All right. You all let us know your thoughts on the finale episode for part 1 and all things part 1 of the final season of Power Book 2 Ghost. As I mentioned numerous times tonight, we'll be back September for the second part, the final part, the conclusion of Power Book 2 Ghost. And then next week we have some more content dropping. Right now, again, we have an interview available with Talia Robinson, and who as L, and then we really Talia, excuse me. Robinson.
Looking at you.
Yeah. Talia Robinson.
You just elongated it like amazingly. Like the little white teacher in class when you're trying to read the names off the list. Talia.
Check out that interview as well. That's available right now. And then I don't know, man. I don't know how they're going to do this in terms of the part 2. I mean, are we back at it like it's a new season, or we just, I don't know. We got a lot to figure out.
Do we throw a whole different party atmosphere to it? But again, I think it's just going to come immediately back on to a big surprises. Because if you're going to split it at this point, you got to have some setup huge for this final 5.
Yep. We'll be here to cover it one way or another. And y'all won't miss us too long. We got another show we're working on, so those will get to starting very soon. So keep an eye out for that. It's you'll like it. And if you are a Grantham Coleman fan, you don't want to miss this one. I'll just leave it at that. Yeah, that is my guy.
I got his eye. Also, I will talk about the other guy.
Listen, folks, thank you so much for tuning in for us this entire first part. As always, we appreciate the love, and we'll see y'all back in a few months for more Power Book 2 Ghost Talk. Thank you for tuning in tonight.
Regulars.